Welcome back to the channel, guys. So in today's video I'm going to be showing us how to create or how to cut that outfit that we saw on my thumbnail. So first of all, you need to have a very nice fabric for yourself, a lining. You need to have a pattern paper, you need to have your scissors, your marker, your ruler, your tape, okay, and also your chalk. All right, so first of all, what I'm going to do is to draw a line on the top part of the paper. Now this line is going to indicate the starting point, okay? As usual, we are going to start with our shoulder measurement. The next thing you're going to do is to go ahead and then measure down, okay? Our vertical measurement from the shoulder to our bust point, from the shoulder to our under bust, and also from the shoulder to the waist. So once you're done doing this, you're going to move your tape over to the other part of the paper, and then you're going to mark out the same thing on that side also. Then you now end up using your ruler to connect those dots together. Now once you're done doing this, go ahead and then level these lines so that you will know which one is which and you will not end up confusing yourself. So after doing that, the next thing I'm going to be doing, since I'm going to be marking the skirts also on this paper, what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and then mark down 1 inch from the waist downwards, okay? So this 1 inch now is going to serve as the point where the blouse and the skirts part is going to meet, okay? So don't worry, after doing this, we are going to go ahead and divide that center into two, meaning ½ inch on top and also ½ inch below, so that we can have what to use and join them. I didn't want to mark them out separately or cut them out separately. I just want to cut it out like a gown, then I'll end up separating them on the waist region. So after doing this, the next thing you're going to do is to go ahead and then mark from your waist region. So as you can see on this my video right now, I ended up marking this down from the original waist region, but you're not supposed to mark from there. So start from this other line, the third line, which now forms like the original waist point, okay? So start from that line and then mark out from your waist to your hip point. And also you're going to mark from your waist down to your under hip. That means you're going to measure that area, your under hip area. So you're going to measure that part and also mark from your waist to that point. Then you're going to also mark from your waist down to the length, wherever you want it to stop. Just mark out the length, then just connect the lines together. So the next thing is to label the lines. So this is my hip point and this is my under hip point. Okay, so you have to do this so you'll not mix them up together. So after doing that, you have to go back to the beginning so that we can mark out other measurements. So now you're going to be marking out the neck measurement. So right now I'm using 3x3 measurements for the neck. So I'm going to be marking 3 inches below and also 3 inches on top. Then I'm going to be connecting these lines together. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure out my shoulder measurement, and I will divide that by 2, and then I'm going to mark that out. Then on that point, I'm going to be coming down by ½ inch. Then I'm going to be connecting that ½ inch directly back to the neckline. Then also on the bust point, I'm also going to be marking out that my shoulder measurement divided by 2. Then I'm also going to be going up by 1 inch. Then at that point, I'm going to be connecting that shoulder slope down to that point, which is now going to be forming the armhole depth. Now I'm going to be drawing a line like this just to form the chest line. Now after doing this, you're going to go ahead and then label this part, the chest line, so you'll not be confused. So the next thing you're going to be doing is to divide our nipple to nipple measurement by 2, and then mark that out on the paper starting from the center front. So I'm going to be marking that on my bust points, on the under bust points, also on the waist points. So after doing that, I'm going to be using my ruler to connect the lines together. So what I did here was that I made a normal dart measurement on the sides, but then I realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do. So later on, I went ahead with my marker, and then I ended up cleaning it out so that you can definitely go ahead and then create the bustier that I was definitely going for. So in creating the bustier, this is what you're going to do. What you're going to do now is to subtract your under bust measurement from your bust measurement. So if your under bust measurement was 33 and your bust measurement was 37, subtract 33 from 37. Then whatever you're going to have, if you're going to be having 7 or 4, just an example, divide that number by 2. Then you're going to be placing the lowest number at the nipple to nipple measurement line, that's towards your center front. Then the larger number should be placed towards the armhole. So again, so you're marking this out on the under bust points and also on the waist region. So after that, the next thing is for you to come over to this armhole depth and then find out the midpoints using your tape. Once you find out the midpoint, just mark it with your marker. The next thing you're going to do is to mark 2 inches from that line. Okay, so this your shoulder line, just mark 2 inches from that line outwards, then connect that line with your ruler and then mark the same midpoint also on that line. Then try connecting that line, that midpoint line from that place, trying to make a curve, a little bit of curve. If you have a curve ruler, please make use of it. Try to make a curve from that particular point down to the nipple to nipple line. That's what I'm going to be doing here. So after that, you're going to try to curve it out into the other lines that you draw on the under bust point. So right now, trying to draw that line, if you have a curved ruler, it will be very much easier and better for you to use. But if you're very good at using just your free hands to draw this, please do well to make use of that. And then draw it, forming that curve, okay, down to that line that you drew on the underboard. And also you're going to try to also make a little curve from that first point down to this other line, as you're seeing me do right now. So don't mind the white marker I used to clean this off. It just was just really on a very wrong level. But then just try to follow the red marker, how I'm making use of it. That's why I'm trying to make it bold so that you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So on the other side, so just try and make a little curve down to that place. It's not going to be straight, just a little curve on the other center front area. Now on the second line, you're also going to be doing the same thing. So try to connect the line, the dots, that midpoint dot on the second line that you drew, also down towards a nipple to nipple line, but it's not going to get directly to that line. The line is going to finish on this other curve, the first curve that you made before you get down to that, the original line, as in towards your bust line. So you should just finish there. The next thing you're going to do is to mark out our horizontal measurements. So divide your bust measurements by 4 and then mark it out on your chest line. You can also mark it out on your bust point, but I'm just doing this for the sake of the video. Sometimes it is just optional, okay, to mark it out on the bust points. Now you're going to also do the same thing for your under bust, divide it by 4 and then mark it out. Now at this point, now remember that we subtracted our under bust measurement from the bust measurement, and then we had a measurement that we used to mark out this curve that we have on the bust area. So now that particular number, now you need to replace that number on your under bust measurement so that you can restore back the number you took out, because you're going to be cutting that place out. So that's what you're going to do. Now coming over to the waistline, you are going to also divide your waist measurements by 4 and also mark it out. Then also the same thing that you did, whatever it is that you added to the under bust measurements, you're also going to add it back also to your to your waistline. That's restoring back what we took out to form the curved point. So now we are going to be connecting these lines together with our ruler. The next thing is to add 1 inch seam allowance to the sides, and then we're going to connect them together with our ruler. So once that is done, the next thing is for us to come over to the skirt area, and then we're going to be marking out the nipple to nipple measurement from the center front inwards. So now after marking that out, you're going to be coming down by 4 inches. So on this video I used 3 inches here, but later found out that it was quite too short, so I had to use 4 inches, which was much better. So after marking that down, you're going to connect that line directly with your ruler, and then we are going to be placing our tape over on top, and then we are going to be marking 1/2 inch on either side of them, and then we are going to use the ruler and then connect it inwards. So once that is done, the next thing is for us to divide our waist measurements by 4 and then mark it out, and then add 1 inch seam allowance or 1.5 seam allowance, depending on how much allowance you want to add towards that area. Now you're also going to be moving over to our hip measurement. So divide your hip measurements by 4 and then mark it out, and also coming over to your under hip measurements, divide it also by 4 make sure you measure around your under hip, that is under your butt area, because this is where it's going to really help bring your butt out. That is why we are marking over this area. So you're going to mark out that area, divide it by 4, and then mark them out. Then also come over to your knee area where you want it to stop. You have to measure around that area. Stand how you would want it to fit properly. Okay, you can even stand with your legs spread out, or how comfortable you would want to anytime you are wearing the gown. So just stand in that manner and then wrap your tape around your knee, and then take the measurement, divide it by 4, and then mark it out there. So the next thing you're going to be doing now is to try to curve out this hip point, because our hip is not a box in a box form. So you have to try to curve it out a bit so it can look a little bit natural on this paper. So moving forward now, we are going to be adding 1 inch seam allowance to the sides. So after that, we are going to be connecting these dots together. So after that, we are going to be demarcating this, the top part and also the skirt region from each other. So I'm just going to be cutting out on this line that was at the center, so that we'll have 1/2 inch on top and also 1/2 inch below, so you can use it to join it, since the gown has a half length. So that was why I did this method. So you can decide to use any method of your choice to do this. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to come over to this neckline. Then I'm going to be marking 1.5 inches from that round curve from the neckline inwards on the shoulder. Okay, so now I'm going to be connecting that 1.5 inches directly to our seam allowance and also directly to the main point that we marked before we added the seam allowance. Okay, so right now on the shoulder point now, okay, you're going to be marking 1 inch inwards. That's on the original shoulder depth line. You're going to be marking 1 inch inwards. Then you're going to be marking from the very top part of that 1 inch, sorry, of that shoulder slope down to that 1 inch. Okay, now you're going to be creating a curve from that particular point that we just marked down. Create a curve from there and then take it directly to the seam allowance that we added to the main body. Okay, just like what I'm doing right now, just do exactly like this, connect it down to that point. So right now I'm going to come over again to the neckline, and then we are going to be marking out 1 inch from that neckline. Okay, that is on your shoulder. You're going to be marking 1 inch, and then you're going to be connecting that 1 inch directly to that curved area. Okay, so originally what we did before, the first one that we connected, that we drew, was way wider than what I was expecting. So when I noticed that, I had to come back and create that curve, okay, like the normal armhole curve, and then mark out the the 1 inch from the shoulder. Then we're going to be connecting that towards that curve. So that will now make it much more relaxing on the shoulder area and also on the chest area. So that was what I did there. So don't be confused. The next thing I'm going to do is to get my scissors and then cut it out directly on that very particular line. So as you can see now, it's going to come out looking quite very much okay, very neat on that line. So after cutting that out, just go ahead and cut out the other part also. And also remember to cut out the excess and the skirt region. And after cutting that out, be sure to mark out at the center front that this skirt is supposed to be cut out on fold. So just write fold on the front, on the center front, so that you'll be able to remember that you're supposed to cut this out on fold, since this is a single paper. Okay, so now going back to the top region, now you're going to be cutting out the back piece for this particular blouse. So right now, you're going to be placing the front pattern that we just finished making on top of another paper. So we're going to be using that to trace it out, so it's very much easier for us to be able to create the back. So after doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the excesses on the sides. Then after you're finished doing that, you're going to be marking out the bust point and also the waistline towards the other part of the paper using this front pattern. Then you're going to go ahead and then mark out and then draw those lines out together. Now on the back part towards the center front, we are going to be marking inwards, still our nipple to nipple measurement. So guys, at this point now, just realized that our paper wasn't complete, so I had to add up a paper to the back part. So right now, this is now full for both the front and the back part. So if you had a full paper, well, I'm better for you to just make use of that, okay? So, but it's okay. You can still work with this. So right now, you're just going to go ahead and cut out the excess just to make sure that it looks exactly like the front part. But on the back neck region, we are only going to be coming down by 1 inch on the neck area. Okay, it's not going to be as deep as the front, so just come down by 1 inch, and then we are going to be connecting the neckline from the front down to that 1 inch. This will now form the neckline for the back region, and then we are going to cut that out. So at this point now, you're going to be marking, remember our nipple to the full measurement that we marked? We are going to be marking 1 inch downwards from that nipple to nipple measurement on the chest line. So that is where our dart is going to stop, not directly on the chest line. So now coming down to the waistline, we are going to be marking 1/2 inch on either side. Then we are going to be starting from that 1 inch that we marked downwards from the chest line. Then we are going to be connecting it down to that waistline, to those 1/2 inches on the waistline. So in marking out the princess dart for the back line, we are going to be bringing in our front piece into the picture so we can be able to use that front pattern as a guide. So right now, I'm placing the back piece on top of the front piece. You now know where your princess dart on the front part started. So right now, if you're cutting this out, please mark the princess dart for the back on top and make sure that your own princess dart for the front is below, okay? Like when you're trying to mark it out on your back piece, be sure that you're not marking it directly, because on this video now, I think I marked mine directly, but later on, later I realized I wasn't supposed to do that. So you're going to be marking yours on top, not directly. Okay, I don't know if you understand. So mark it on top of that your particular paper, but it should be up, not directly on a particular curve that you used for your front. The one you use for your front should be below, while the other one should be on top, okay? That way it's going to make it straight and it's not going to give a curve at the back. So that is just it. So once you're done, come over to the chest line and then mark in 1.5 inward, 1.5 inches inwards. Then from that 1.5 inches, now you're going to be connecting that 1.5 inches inwards directly to your center back, okay? That is towards the neckline. Just draw a straight line straight towards the neckline. The next thing you're going to do is to go ahead and then cut it out just directly the way you're seeing it. And then cut out the back piece, and that is just it for the back. Just cut out the back piece, the dart area, and you are done for the back. And also cut out the ones for the front also. So just watch how I'm going to be cutting these in the front, so you'll not be confused while cutting out yours. That's if you're making this type of style for the first time. So just go ahead and then watch how I'm going to be cutting this out, so you'll not make mistakes. So once you're done cutting them out like this, then your front and your back pieces are ready. Just for you to go ahead and then place them on top of your fabric and then cut them out. So then once you're done cutting them out individually, once you're done cutting it out, it's going to look something like this. So as you can see now how it's coming together, okay? Not minding how it was before. So once you're done cutting, it should look something like this, okay? Yeah, so that is it. On my next video, I'm going to be showing you how to join all the pieces together.